Hello and good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday to you. We're going to go ahead and get started with roll call. Kyla, if you wouldn't mind.
No problem. Commissioner O'Rourke?
Here.
Commissioner Webster?
I'm here.
Commissioner Cohen? Commissioner Brimhall?
Here. Here.
Commissioner Venkatesh? Commissioner Williams?
Here.
Commissioner Scarborough?
Here.
And then ACDHH staff present. I'm sorry, Commissioner Cinco. We almost forgot about you.
You forgot the most important person. I'm here.
ACDHH staff present. Sherry Collins.
Hello, I'm here.
Carmen Green Smith.
Hello, I'm here.
Nikki Sukup.
Hello, I'm here.
Suke Neifel.
Here.
Victoria Vaughn.
Here.
Ricky Gonsalski.
Here.
PV Jantz.
Here.
And myself, Kyla Dalton Nava. Did we miss anyone? Oh, we missed you, Nick. Sorry about that. And the AAG, Nick Bacon. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kyla. I know feels like it's been a while, but we're back tonight for another board meeting, and I'm happy to see everyone was able to make it today. Thank you again for your time and participation. So we're going to go ahead and ask for an approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank
I
you,
second.
Commissioner
This is Commissioner
Scarborough.
Webster.
And we have a second. Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it seems everyone is in agreement. All in favor? I apologize. Sherry, would you mind repeating what you just said?
For protocol, you can ask all the board when you are voting in favor to show up real quickly on the video. Thumbs up, say aye. That way it's hard to compete with the screen and the audio. Just for clarity, please.
Absolutely. Okay, to restate this, all in favor, if you would mind, please turning on your camera, showing your support. Thank you. Whether a thumbs up or say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Any opposition? It seems there is none. All in favor of approving the minutes from last meeting. Thank you so much. It passed. Next is the chair's report. I am the acting chair currently. It's an honor to be here. So just a few things I'd like to share with everyone. Before we move forward, I'd like to call on PV Jant. PV, if you don't mind turning your camera on. Hello, PV. Would you mind turning your camera on, PV?
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Good to see everyone. I was just taking a bite of my sandwich and I had to, get it down before I came on screen. I
It was
apologize.
a little awkward sitting here waiting for you, but that's all right. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. My name is PV Jans, and I am the new family service specialist here at ACDHH. I'm happy to be with you all tonight. It feels a little bit odd to be on the opposite side of the table at this point. And now I am working for you. So I'm super excited about this new journey.
Thank you so much, PV, and congratulations on your new position with ACDHH. We know that you will do amazing things for our deaf and hard of hearing and youth across the state of Arizona. Thank you again so much for that and your commitment into your new position. So we'd like to honor and recognize your service by the board, by everyone, giving you a round of applause.
Thank you.
So Ricky, can you show there it is.
Ta-da!
Thank you.
Thank you for all you've done and all you do.
So we will present you the award in the office, PB. Very convenient. So
Perfect.
we'll make sure you get,
Sure.
we wanted you to see it first. So
Great.
thank
Well,
case
thank
after you.
you. I really appreciate that. It's quite an honor. And I do miss being on the board, but Katie is very capable of taking over that role and moving forward with that.
I have some pretty big shoes to fill, but I will do my best.
No pressure. Thank you all again.
Thank you all. Thank you again for all your dedicated service. We really appreciate you, and it's a wonderful recognition. So congratulations again. So next is about May 18th. That'll be our next board meeting. So I ask that you please save the date. The meeting will be on Zoom as it is tonight. Please make your best effort to attend so that we can meet quorum, as we have had previous challenges about not making quorum. So we really do appreciate you trying your best to attend if you can at all. So at the next meeting in May 18th, we might be discussing a little bit more about the elections. And as I said, I am acting chair right now. So we will talk more about elections at that May meeting until November, when we will revisit the conversation again. Also, before we move forward, I would also recognize Commissioner Benton is here.
Yeah.
There we are. All right, thank you. Also want to let you know that we have board members who have resigned as of before 6 o'clock. So that means we have to rearrange the items on the agenda. But so I'll give you my chair report, and then we're going to jump right over to agenda item 8. Let's see. Just to clarify, we have one board member needing to leave at 6 p.m. So we're going to cover an agenda item 8 after the chair's report. RF-26-51-8. We are going to be talking about the disciplinary action regarding that. We've discussed legal action regarding this, so we're going to put this in executive session, this further discussion. Sherry, did you have something?
I tend to talk a time, but I'm going to be talking because my internet is spotty. If I start signing, sometimes it'll get blurry. So I don't want that to happen to people watching. While it is very uncomfortable for me, but the reason why this is on the agenda, because this was brought to our attention on our history of when we have a disciplinary action before the board, what are the precedent, and trying to make sure we're consistent. And so because of the nature of the different disciplinary action, this will require legal advice. And so my suggestion, and I'm sharing the reason why we're going to the executive session for the record, so that people understand why, we're going to that direction before we get into this discussion. But before I do that, I'm going to ask Carmen Green, the Deputy Director, Carmen Green Smith, Deputy Director, if there's anything that we need to discuss publicly before we request for executive session.
Good evening. Not that I am aware of, Sherry. I think, again, just addressing those particular parameters, I don't believe there's discussion needed prior. I'd also defer to Victoria Vaughn just to make sure that I'm not overlooking anything. Victoria?
Good evening. No, there's nothing that we need, to my knowledge, to discuss publicly right now. Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Victoria and Carmen. So what we'll do, we're going into executive session, and then based on the legal advice that you received, then you could decide if you need to take any action after you come out of the executive session. So I recommend that somebody makes a motion, goes to an executive session, since we have the Attorney General's Office Representative Nick Bacon with us. So take it away.
Do I see a motion on the floor?
Commissioner Webster, I second it.
Okay, so Sherry, do we move forward?
For the record protocol, can somebody make a motion? Commissioner Webster, can you please say that you move going to the executive session, refer to the exact agenda item 8, say what it is, discipline and non-compliant, yada, yada, for legal advice, please, for protocol.
This is Commissioner Webster, and I move that we go into executive session to discuss disciplinary action number 8, is that correct? And for legal advice.
Great. Do we have a second?
Commissioner Benton, I will second that.
I recognize Commissioner Scarborough and Commissioner Benton. So we are going to move to executive session. Do we require a vote? I apologize, Ricky, not yet. Let's call for a vote. I'm still learning. So thank you for your patience. Okay, so those all in favor for executive session, please say so or raise your hand. It seems we are unanimous. Wonderful. Thank you. We will move to executive session. Ricky, if you please. All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. It is greatly appreciated. If you don't mind, could we do roll call again, please? Before I forget.
Sure, and I won't forget you, Commissioner Cinco. We'll go first with you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
Here.
Commissioner Cohen,
Here.
Commissioner Webster,
Here.
Commissioner O'Rourke, Commissioner Brimhall, Commissioner Venkatesh,
Here.
Commissioner Benton,
Here.
Commissioner Webster.
Still here.
All right, great. Then Commissioner Williams.
Here.
I think that's it. Scarborough, sorry.
Here.
It's not, my list is super short, but we're good now. Sorry about that.
Almost everyone. There we have it. All right. Thank you so much, Kyla. I appreciate it. So now we just returned from executive session. We're going to open the floor to the board for discussion.
Sorry, since none, then you can move on to the next.
Thank you. It seems there's no discussion. Would anyone like to make a motion? Don't need to? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Mhm.
When a board comes out of a second session, doesn't always mean they have to have an action item. So I don't believe there's anything required from the board because they've already, because the board's already received legal advice that not require an action item. It's on the agenda in case it's needed, so doesn't always mean that. So we can just go on.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much. I appreciate your guidance, Sherry. Jumping to agenda item 8. Regarding interpreter complaints and inquiries. Oh, sorry. Let me back up a little bit. I can't read Roman numerals very well, obviously, so jumping to agenda item 10, regarding interpreter complaints and inquiries that requires a discussion or an action item. So there are 2 interpreters, Jennifer Morse and Christopher Cancino. We will focus on Jennifer Morse first. Don't believe well, my apologies. Victoria, would you please share the comments regarding Jennifer Morse?
And Commissioner Cinco, just want to clarify the comments, or do you want me to go into the complaint? Because we had public comments for, okay. All righty. So the first complaint is for Jennifer Morris. So this is a continuation of the complaint that the board reviewed during the November 2022 board meeting. The board members requested that I go back to get the history on the number of complaints that have been filed against Jennifer Morris. So to refresh our memories a bit, I'll give a summary of the complaint that we initially reviewed back in November. The full complaint packet is on the board member commissioner website, as well as the video recording of the incident that initiated the complaint. So the summary is a deaf consumer named Jessica Jones filed a complaint against the interpreter Jennifer Morse through the Maricopa Superior Court of Interpreters group. The court interpreters group consulted ACDHH about the allegations made by Ms. Jones against Ms. Morse. And in summary, Ms. Jones was upset that Ms. Morse did not interpret everything that she said or everything that the judge said during that interaction. And Ms. Jones says that Ms. Morse did not explain appropriately the role of a certified deaf interpreter when the judge asked. So I did go back into the history for Jennifer Morse related to the complaints that we have on file for her. So there are two categories because prior to licensure, the commission issued what's called a certificate of competency to interpreters that worked in the legal setting. So there's some complaints that were filed against that certificate of competency, and then there's complaints that are against her actual legal license when licensure passed. So in that first group, prior to licensure, during that time that she held the certificate of competency, our records indicate that there were 3 complaints filed against Ms. Morse. All 3 of the complaints involved accusations related to unprofessional conduct. None of the 3 complaints went to the board because they were either outside of the jurisdiction of the board at that time or unsubstantiated. So now after licensure passed, Ms. Morse did obtain her legal license. And so after she obtained her license, in 2013, there was a complaint filed against her license alleging unprofessional conduct. And the board dismissed that complaint. And in 2018, a complaint, again alleging unprofessional conduct, was filed against her license. And that complaint was dismissed by the board due to unsubstantiated allegations. Now that we have this history for this particular complaint, I did amend my recommendations to the board for discipline for this particular matter. But before I go into that, does anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, before we go with any questions, I would like to share the video. Ricky, if you wouldn't mind, please show the video. And I'm going to turn my camera off for accessibility.
This is Sherry. Could we hold one moment? I'm sorry, one
The
second.
video showed the actual public comment, not that one. That should not be showing. That's the wrong one. It's the public comment one from the individual is what we need to show. The short, I think we've seen it at the last board meeting. We're showing it again. And the interpreters will need to voice that video of a public comment that we're showing, please. Yeah, the other one, no. Do we have a transcript of that public comment video?
Hello, my name is Jessica Jones. And the reason I'm leaving this message is first that I want to say thank you for accepting the complaint that I filed. I had a bad experience with an interpreter. It happened at the courthouse. Well, there was a court hearing. I'm in a different state. I'm in Ohio. The hearing was happening in Arizona, and I was joining virtually. The interpreter didn't introduce themselves. They didn't say anything. I didn't know their name. I didn't get any instructions from the attorneys or anything. When the hearing was almost over, the judge asked any questions. And I said that I would like to have a CLD or a CDI. And the judge asked what that meant. And the interpreter began explaining and saying that it was for people who had mental illness. And I immediately said, no, I object. I started to get really upset. You could tell based on my facial expressions, and what they were saying was wrong. I explained that they were giving the wrong information. And the examples they gave on what a CDI was wrong. A CDI is there to make the information more accessible and clearer for me when I'm in a court hearing so that I can understand. I didn't want that judge to think that I wasn't able to handle myself in a hearing or follow along. I didn't want to lose my child. And I really didn't understand what the interpreter was saying. And for you board members, I want you to take this very seriously. I don't want you to take the side of the interpreter. Please. I have had so many rough experiences, and I have been through so much.
Thank you very much, Ricky. Okay, so we are open for discussion. Commissioner Cohen?
Yes, so I pulled up the fee schedule and I was looking at that and trying to figure out what would be an appropriate disciplinary action for this concern. So I noticed that there was two possible disciplinary actions that might match this offense. I think that we could fine them and require them to take additional training. And the other one that I would bring up would be a $50 to $100 per day fee for breaking the code of ethics. So we could include those together or one or the other, whatever that you feel would be an appropriate disciplinary action for this particular case. I know there's a history there with this person, but no proof or no action has been taken. So I feel that we need to focus on this particular offense. And based on my understanding of the fee schedule, that is what I have to propose for a discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. Anyone else like to discuss the matter? Hearing none, we can start with the action. Does anyone have a motion they would like to propose? I hear someone might be speaking. Do we have an interpreter? No one's speaking? All right. Thank you. It's good to know. So again, is there any further discussion? Excuse me, do we have a motion? Hello again. It's been a while, Commissioner Cohen.
Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and start a motion. Let's see, I propose a motion to have a $100 disciplinary action fee, and then also 10 hours of CEU training related to the Code of Ethics specifically.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. We have a motion.
This is Commissioner
Commissioner
Ringo. I second
Scarborough.
that.
This is Commissioner Scarborough. I did not second that. I have a friendly amendment recommendation. Andrew, if you wouldn't mind accepting my recommendation to your motion.
I missed your amendment.
I
Please.
would recommend added time. You had stated CEUs. So I would like to say have those CEUs completed within 90 days.
This is Commissioner Cohen. I'm fine with that. And I think there's a second. Chair Stanko said.
Commissioner Scarborough said, yes, I'll second it.
Commissioner Stanko, we have a motion on the floor with a friendly amendment that says a $100 fine with 10 continuing education hours to be completed within 90 days. Do we have a second?
I second.
I have a second. All right. Commissioner Scarborough has seconded it. All in favor, please turn on your cameras and so indicate. It seems we are in agreement.
Sherry's asking for a roll call.
For safety's sake, Carla, would you mind please doing a roll call?
Sure.
for documentation purposes. Thank you.
No worries. Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Cinco,
Aye.
Commissioner Venkatesh,
Aye.
Commissioner Benton,
This is a tough one, but I will support the motion.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Webster,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Brimhall,
Aye.
Aye.
are we missing anyone?
It seems we are good. Thank you, everyone. The next individual on the agenda is Christopher Cancino. So Victoria, would you mind please giving us a summary of the incident?
Sure. So this complaint, again, was against Christopher Cancino. Christopher is not a Arizona licensed interpreter. The complaint was filed by a deaf consumer, Jose Ramirez. And so Mr. Ramirez states that Christopher has been working at a Walmart with him in the Human Resources Department. And when he needs to go to Human Resources, because Christopher knows ASL, he's been interpreting the conversations between Mr. Ramirez and other Human Resources staff. Now, this particular complaint posed to be difficult because I was unable to get in touch with Christopher Cancino to inquire about what happened when and ask the normal questions of an investigation. Tried for several months with different methods of trying to contact him, and all of them failed. So it is my recommendation that that the board does dismiss it. We can suggest to do a letter of reprimand, but again, all the ability to contact Christopher to get him that information or any information, even a letter of reprimand to explain what Arizona licensure law is, may fail because we don't have a way to contact him.
Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate the summary of events. So we're open for discussion to the board. Oh,
We have
backing up,
public
Sherry.
comment.
With that public comment, we need to have Kyla read to the board for the record.
Thank you, Sherry. Kyla, if you wouldn't mind, please reading public comment.
Sure. This public comment is from Jose Ramirez. And I'm just going to read the board statement before reading the comment. It says, the board is responsible for establishing time limits for public participation. Unless modified by the board at a particular meeting, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes on all topics. Personal attacks on board members, staff, or other persons in attendance or absent are discouraged. Individuals are cautioned that statements concerning others that could be considered slanderous may subject the speaker to civil action. Those who violate this rule can be barred from future appearances before the board. This applies both to public hearings and board meetings. Your cooperation is appreciated. And now for the comment. Why I am filing a complaint. Christopher Cancino and I met at Walmart warehouse not retail, and he is hearing. He knows ASL and is not fluent in ASL. Also, he has a fiance or boyfriend who is deaf, and Chris is still learning ASL from this relationship. Chris got hired at Walmart, and a few months later, I got hired. He works in the day and I work at night. A few months later, Chris got promoted and became human resources. And I was surprised because he was still a new associate. Whenever I need to talk to HR for some reasons, I come to the HR office and I saw Chris as an HR representative and other HR members. I didn't want to sign to Chris because I do not want any misinformation or missing information. I prefer to use my phone and to use the Note app. Anyway, I talked to Chris with my phone and he did read it and interpret it to the other HR. That's where I got confused. Chris actually did interpret for me and the other HR, and I had questions and felt uncomfortable. I thought it happened one time, but I've seen Chris interpret for other deaf associates. At Walmart warehouse, we have around 5 or 6 deaf associates. At this time, I did suspect that Chris, the HR team, hired Chris to become an ASL interpreter and human resource. I don't know what Chris and other HR people did discuss about this position, but Chris should have declined this offer because he is not certified ASL interpreter and does not have a license. My friend did inform me of the situation. At Walmart warehouse, one day, my friend got bit by a bug in the restroom and went to see the nurse. They couldn't communicate due to no communication access, so the nurse called Chris and asked to interpret for them. After this, Chris told my friend not to tell anyone about it. My friend suspects Chris as well. It seems Chris knows that he is doing something illegally, but continues doing, and he's able to keep his job anyway. That's the end of the comment.
Thank you for sharing the public comment, Tyler. We are now open for discussion from the board. Commissioner Williams.
If this fellow who is interpreting was working at the Walmart warehouse, I was wondering if he's still there, he could be contacted in some way.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Victoria, would you like to respond to the question?
To be honest, I don't know. I've tried numerous ways to get that information, to try to contact him at Walmart. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been since we're on a couple months now where I've been diligently through any means of communication trying to find out that information, and it's been unsuccessful so far.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Benton.
So I was wondering about sending a letter to Walmart and, providing education to them, explaining licensure and the like. Is that something we could do?
Victoria?
Yes. So I can definitely that's the easier part, if you will, finding the higher ups in the org chart of Walmart. So I can definitely do that. Yes, if the board wants me to do that.
That was
Thank
my
you,
comment.
Commissioner Venkatesh.
Yes, sorry. That was my comment as well, that it seems like this is a Walmart hiring issue. Certainly this gentleman shouldn't have put himself as an interpreter, but it's a big corporation, so they should know better.
Thank you. Do I have any comment? This sounds an awful lot like an HR issue. The commission can inform the complainant that they should have a conversation with HR about the severity of the issues of what they are doing. I see Commissioner Benton has a comment.
I motion that we do drop the complaint with the inability to connect with that person. I motion to drop this complaint.
We have a motion to dismiss the complaint. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Venkatesh. I second that motion.
I see many seconds. Thank you very much. So all in favor, please turn your camera on.
Can you please do a roll call because it's official complaint for the record, please?
Absolutely. Carla? This is an official complaint. Mary, please have a roll call.
Of course. Commissioner Williams,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think I agree with Commissioner Benton on dropping the complaint. Can we also, or can the staff also communicate with management on the correct way to handle these things so that even if Victoria can't contact this person, we put a little notice on management to watch out for these things? Can we do that?
I believe we're required to have an amendment. Is that right? Okay, it has been proposed, and we might need an amendment to dismiss the complaint by the commission to inform the warehouse Walmart about proper hiring procedures to address the issues of using an unlicensed interpreter. Is that
I accept
sufficient?
that.
So we can do a roll call. Carla, if you wouldn't mind.
sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Venkatesh, Commissioner Cinco,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Rourke, Commissioner Benton,
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen,
Aye.
Commissioner Scarborough,
Aye.
Commissioner Webster,
Aye.
and Commissioner Brimhall.
Aye.
It seems we have everyone, so the motion carries. So can we now discuss the agenda item? Let me see what we have. All right, the executive director's update. So, Sherry. Oh, before we do that, I would like to thank Nick Bacon for his time And thank you so much. He has to leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
So now for Sherry Collins to share her executive director's report.
So, first of all, good evening, and the rest of the agenda item going to be very quick because you've had the board report since February and we keep rescheduling. So I appreciate all of you showing up tonight. And we'll have more update at the next month, May 18th meeting. That's where we'll pick up from our last report, because this is the same report that you have received. So I'm not going to get into that, but I only have one new highlight that I wanted to mention to you or comment since our last board meeting is that you have already heard PB Jantz is now an employee of ours. And I just wanted to officially welcome him to ACDHH family. And we always do that. Anytime we have a new employee joining the team, we always introduce those individuals with the board. So I want to officially welcome PB to the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And I know that I've been getting chewed out and I keep stealing people from Department of Education. So sorry. So glad that PB is here. PB, you want to come green for a second?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Sherry.
Hope you're not eating. You're done eating dinner now.
I am.
So PB, maybe you can explain a little bit about your role, and because this is the new position that the legislators had given us, the 4 new position, and this is one of the new positions. So you want to kind of explain a little bit about what you've been doing since you've been with that?
Absolutely. Okay, so like Sherry mentioned, this is a new position. And honestly, what really absolutely convinced me to come here was creating that program. And I was sold. I was convinced by that, being involved in creating this particular program. This position is focusing on developing a program for family youth and family services. And families are included as well, even parents, senior citizens, so the entire range of families. So I've been working to develop a roadmap just to show what the program will look like and what our goals are for the next year and 2 years, and then 3 years and beyond that, and then a 5-year goal as well. So I will be honest with you. I had to kind of, dispose of that roadmap 2 times. We had several drafts and I had to rethink and redesign. But I've been here about 4 weeks now, and I've gotten a lot of feedback with various challenges and situations and many things identified within that. We've identified various gaps and situations that have come up with DCS, Department of Child Services, and access and Medicaid and benefits and education. There's varying challenges there. Varying requests for families, and maybe their children are not deaf, but maybe the parents are deaf, and just requesting interpreters for those types of things. So and there's a lot of going on there, and we do have a draft. Hopefully I will have that ready to go for your review within the next month or so. And I'm looking forward to showing the board that and giving you an idea of our 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year roadmap. One big challenge that we are facing currently is policies and legislations, what we need to be involved in first for that first year, and how to bridge that gap into the 3-year and 5-year plan. So we are very excited, and I'm looking forward to our entire process and where we go from here.
Thank you. It's only been 4 weeks, and Sounds like a lot have been going on. I know you've been very busy giving presentation and attending different community events. And PV is part of the Community Affairs Unit, which is under Carmen's leadership. So we're thrilled. So welcome back in a different role. So we're happy to have you with us.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you. All right, wait for the interpreter to show up. Okay, so that's a highlight of my report. And, again, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, May, a month, next month, we'll have a lot more update where we left off. Before I go on to the next agenda item, Madam Chair, Stinko, if you want me to, if there's no other questions, we could go on into the legislative update. The most recent hot issue, I just want Nikki to talk about it, ASDB, and then we'll just move on. So I'm open to answer any questions regarding to my report.
Hearing none. So thank you very much, Sherry, for your awesome update. It's very exciting to see what PV will bring. I'm excited to see as well. Thank you so much. So now we're going to turn it on over to Nikki to share with us the legislative update. So we know what's going on with ASDB and the hot topics in the deaf community in the state, especially in Tucson and Phoenix. There's been a lot of discussion. We've been watching that. I know there's a lot of great legislation going on. So we're hoping to hear what's next, and we're looking forward to what Nikki has to share. Thank you.
Hello. Since this is a board meeting, back in February, I was focused then, but let me talk a little bit about what has happened since. Prior to February, our ultimate goal was being very involved in the committees for vulnerable adults. And that led to a project and that Sherry Collins was leading. And then also, we were looking forward to other legislative issues. We had a lot of discussion around cochlear implant advocacy and coverage for those who were over 21, speech therapy coverage as well for those that were over 21. So there were various things that we were focusing on. And through that, March came along with that hot ASDB issue. So I don't know how much you want me to go into what has been going on. But I'm sure that I could provide some guidance to you today.
Just really in short of happened actually this afternoon where ASCB continuation bill is going, the sunrise. I can summarize that.
Okay, yes. So the ASDB continuation bill, HB 2456, that had a third read just this morning into the afternoon. And there was a 2-hour discussion on this bill on the floor from the Commissioner Howe. There was various people involved, different amendments as well. And there was a proposal on the table, HB 2456. It was assigned to the committee. And there was an amendment for 2 years instead of the ongoing 8 years that we have been experiencing. All state agencies usually have an 8 to 10 year time frame for review. So it has been quite a discussion today, and it will be live tomorrow. So if you're interested in watching that, please do tune in. They will show today's session and that discussion. So look forward to that, and it'll be an ongoing discussion. The community is very involved in this, to the point now that this afternoon, they passed the 4 years continuation. So that has passed the Senate. And now after that, it will go to the House. Now, the reason that it is going back to the House, because that is where the bill originated. So the Senate made some adjustments and amendments, and now it needs to go back to the House where it originated for their final approval. So any amendments or disagreements, it could go back to that 8 years. So we will see. That's what we're all hoping for. So that's what's under consideration right now. But we are looking at a 4-year continuation bill for ASDB for their sunrise review in 4 years. So they will have to apply to that depending on what the House decides. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikki. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cohen, please. He has a comment.
So I did have one question regarding this. Do you all know any reason why this bill was even put in place and why they want to adjust the number of years for that sunset review? I'm just wondering if you have an answer for that. Well, various reasons. I'm not sure of the exact reason behind them proposing this bill, but the group, they wanted 2 years. Others wanted to stick with the standard 8 years. And the bill that passed today was Senator Bennett. And Senator Bennett is a Republican in District 1, I believe. I could double check that. But as far as that goes, he's also the chair of the Education Committee. So I feel like I could go on about this, but he is also the one who brought HB 2291 into play. So there was various options. There was 2456. It wasn't on the table. That died in motion. So we had the second one. And the reason for that, it so occurred that that was put into play. One wanted 2 years. It so happened that they ended up with 4 years. It kind of, both parties agreed to that. And then today, like I had mentioned during the session today, again, they made an amendment to 2456, and the others was still on hold. 291 was still on hold. So they were still deciding which one they would bring to the floor at that point. And then the president decided that they wanted 2456 on the floor. And they had a discussion regarding that. They went into agreement of 4 years, and they made that amendment at that point. So they wanted to continue with that bill and make that amendment for 4 years. And that's what they proposed. And it did pass.
So
Just to
clarify, this going back and forth from different amounts of years, the reason for it reducing it to 2 years or less than 8 years in the first place. Do we know why?
That is the ultimate question. Question of the day, actually. Question of the year, honestly. Why is this being proposed? What is the reason for it? And they might want more legislative oversight for the schools for the deaf, education for deafblind children and things like that. They want it to be on par, and they want to monitor quality. And that's the reason they're giving at this point. But some may feel a bit angst due to that reasoning, because it's not very clear. There's some concerns related to funding and management of funds. So that was already addressed in the past. But at any time regarding the sunset review, and that's done by the Attorney General, the Auditor General. So they check in to make sure that, they go through everything A to Z to make sure all is running smoothly and the like, how the money is spent and things like that. So they have various findings and they provide those findings for improvement. There may be some concern there, but ASDB had already taken action and addressed those concerns. So that is a big discussion as well. So based on all of that information and what is being shown, the question still stands as to it has been proposed, it is there, and that's the reasoning we're getting.
It seems the question of the year. Thank you. So more like Chair Cienko says, question of the century.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Nikki. Any more questions regarding legislation and the legislative update?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So next item on the agenda is Interpreter Licensure Committee update. Commissioner Benton is not here, so we'll turn it over to Victoria to share the update.
Thank you. So since our last meeting in November as a full board, we've had 2 Interpreter Licensure Committee meetings. The one in January, we had 37 applications approved. So that was a pretty big number. And then in February, we had 15. So again, majority of those are virtual remote interpreters getting the appropriate license to service our Arizona consumers. But one exciting thing to note is that we had 2 certified deaf interpreters in those 2 groups. So now in Arizona, in our state, we have 2 certified deaf interpreters that have been added to the pool. So that's exciting news.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Any questions regarding the Interpreter Licensure Committee and the update? All right. Next item on the agenda is the fee schedule. So I'm going to turn it over to Victoria again.
Thank you. All righty. So in early 2022, there were some concerns over the ability to have a consistent guide for determining disciplinary actions for the various complaints that come through for interpreters. So we had a discussion with the staff, had a discussion with the Interpreter Licensure Committee, and came up with a guide to use as a basis for some recommendations that we'll make when a complaint is brought to the board. So that document is on the commissioner's website, and we'll leave it there for going forward for complaints to look at. But again, it's just something to kind of have a basis of a starting point to look at to see what the options are. We know that's come up quite a few times, looking at the history of that particular interpreter, the different complaints that have come up. In the first section of the guide, we do talk about or list the factors to consider when imposing discipline. So just some things to keep in mind as the investigator, what happened in the case and why we would need to impose discipline. And then that second group on this guide is talking about the violations that are permissible to assign a disciplinary action to. And then on the last page, it breaks down the different options for discipline. And again, it's just a guide. It's nothing that's concrete. And these are examples that can be used. If someone's a repetitive offender, if you will, there is this basis, but if the board feels that more should be added to it, they do have that ability. So again, it's just something to help guide so that the board will know, I as the investigator, where I'm looking and how I'm making my recommendations, and then they can use it as well to guide. But this is not by any means a must. Again, it's just a jumping off point for disciplinary action for the interpreter complaints. And so if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Any burning questions?
Yes, thank you so very much. I think that's all. My comment.
Perfect. You're welcome.
Anyone have any further questions or comments for Victoria before we move on? And our next agenda item, Commissioner Cohen.
Yes, something just came to mind. As I was looking at the fee schedule, looks great. Definitely clear, easy to follow and understand. Really appreciate that. One thing did come to mind. I'm wondering if we could add a few comments there based on what we recently learned from our executive session. So maybe some of that verbiage could be included, and then further commissioners from here on out would have that knowledge as well.
Okay.
I like that idea. Great. Thank you very much, Victoria. I appreciate you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is hybrid board meetings. Before we jump into discussions and take action on this, I'd like to share my status on this. Due to technical challenges that I've recently experienced, I would like to propose that the board meetings continue to take place on Zoom. From my understanding, ACDHH does not have the ability to do hybrid meetings. So I think it would be much easier and effective if everyone were to meet on Zoom, especially while we are experiencing these challenges of late. At least for the last several board meetings, we had an awful lot of absences, and we have not met quorum. So I'd like to open this up for discussion that we meet on Zoom going forward. Wait for the interpreter to catch up. All right, Commissioner Scarborough.
Yes, I would like to add a comment in support of what you stated. I do agree. I agree that Zoom meetings seem to be better for accessibility in general. And also, it might be easier as well to recruit and utilize interpreters. I know we do struggle to get contracted interpreters at this point, and there is a shortage of interpreters across the entire country, here in Arizona as well. So contracting the interpreters, we have interpreters available, fortunately, and we have good interpreters available for this meeting ongoing when we utilize Zoom. So I think that using Zoom for these meetings instead of the hybrid model because there may be a lot more pressure involved, and interpreters might decline this meeting if it was a hybrid model. So I'm just sharing that honest opinion. I think it would be easier to contract interpreters if we utilize Zoom. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you very much for your thoughts and comments, Commissioner Scarborough. And it's important to get that from an interpreter's perspective. Does anyone else have any comments to share? Hearing none. All right, so I'd like to open it up for a vote. Do we have a motion on the floor? Commissioner O'Rourke.
I move that we continue to have board meetings on Zoom.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brimhall, I second that.
I see Commissioner Webster seconded it. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mm,
The numbers are very overwhelming.
mm.
It seems the motion passes. We will continue to have our board meetings on Zoom. Okay, so before we go ahead and make a motion to adjourn the meeting, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for your support for my first board meeting. Running it as the acting chair. It's been a great experience. I thank you everyone for your patience and your support. You have helped me a great deal and you've helped me to lessen my anxiety. Thank you for that. You've all been a wonderful team. So before we go ahead, Sherry, do you have any final words that you'd like to share?
Madam Chair, you did a fantastic job, and I so thank you for, stepping up, taking a to share role, and I'm here to support, and thank you all board members who showed up tonight, and hopefully down the road when we have more board members, we can consider meeting in person and maybe some on Zoom. That's something that we could talk about in the future. But right now, challenging times, not just in interpreter recruiting, but it also board members tend to be more available on Zoom for several reasons. So thank you for the flexibility, but nothing. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Sherry, and thank you, everyone. So now, do I have a motion to adjourn? Or a vote? Seeing Commissioner Webster, go ahead.
I move we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Webster. Do I have a second? Commissioner Brimhall seconds. And I think it's time for dinner because everyone is hangry. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening and we'll see you all on May 18th. Be there.